You pray, little girl. Pray for forgiveness.
In her 2011 book entitled Breaking Their Will, Shedding Light on Religious Child Maltreatment, Janet Heimlich wrote, "For as long as humans have worshipped deities, we have been abusing and neglecting children in the name of faith." Religious maltreatment of children is a topic that, despite its history, is relatively unexplored. Therefore, before examining the population in question, it is necessary to first explain what is meant by the phrase religious maltreatment. To put it quite simply, religious maltreatment is abuse or neglect that is caused by religious beliefs and/or supported by the surrounding religious community. This can be manifested in numerous ways, such as justifying abusive punishment with religious doctrine, failing to provide children with needed medical care due to a belief in divine intervention, and taking advantage of religious authority to abuse children and ensure their silence. These are by no means the only ways this maltreatment is manifested, but they are the ones considered to be most common. In 2015, nearly 75% of abuse or neglect-related child fatalities involved children of 3 years of age or younger. 49% involved children younger than 1 year. Cases of religious maltreatment appear throughout history in most major and minor religions across the globe. Not just Christianity, but Islam, Judaism, Hinduism, and numerous fundamentalist groups have cases. It's hard to say just how many cases exactly, though, as there is currently no way to accurately measure the extent to which children are abused or neglected, specifically within a religious context. According to Heimlich, the most prominent risk factor for children who are maltreated in the name of religion is living in an authoritarian religious community, whether that be a household, a congregation, or the society at large. Heimlich defines this sort of community as one in which members maintain a strict social hierarchy surrounding the religious leaders, are unusually fearful of things that general society may consider mundane and unthreatening, and are socially separatist or kept isolated from the rest of the world. The consequences of maltreatment for this group, as they do for all children experiencing maltreatment, depend on a number of factors. The child's age and developmental status when maltreatment occurs, the type of maltreatment, the frequency of the maltreatment, the duration of the maltreatment, the severity of the maltreatment, and the relationship between the child and the abuser. Consequences of maltreatment in general include, but are not limited to, impaired brain development, poor physical health, poor mental health, poor emotional health, cognitive difficulties, and social difficulties within the child. Short-term or immediate consequences of religious maltreatment include, but are not limited to, feelings of guilt, betrayal of trust and/or shame, aggression, a decreased sense of personal value, and the promotion of religiously sanctioned prejudice, hatred, and violence. Long-term consequences of religious maltreatment include, but are not limited to, dysfunctional patterns of behavior in family relationships, difficulty in emotional regulation, and psychological symptoms such as depression, phobia, or post-traumatic stress disorder. The most basic challenge surrounding this population is culture. There is not one specific culture that is more or less likely to experience maltreatment. In cases of religiously motivated neglect, the majority of cases involve fundamentalist religious sects, but over a third involve more mainstream religions. In cases of scripturally justified physical abuse, there is an almost equal divide between those involving fundamentalist sects and those involving major denominations. As far as gender and socioeconomic challenges are concerned, there is little evidence to suggest that one gender is abused more than the other, or that level of socioeconomic status makes any difference. Again, it seems to all be based on culture. Take a moment and listen as Mr. Richard Dawkins, who over the course of the research for this project I have grown to love, respect, and cherish very, very much, explains his views on the subject.
We're not just wallowing in pity for the victims of abuse. We're specifically concerned with the role of religion in justifying the abuse. We're not dealing with human cruelty per se, we're dealing with the power of religion to make the abusers feel good about what they're doing. The parent or teacher doing the whipping sincerely believes he's doing good, sincerely believes he's carrying out God's will, hurting the child now in this world in order to save her immortal soul in the next.
There are two main ethical dilemmas regarding this population. The first is that there is very little research existing regarding the subject, as society has paid relatively little attention to it. Heimlich, for example, wrote that when first exploring the topic through the use of Google, one of the only results that she discovered was an article that she herself had written. This lack of research on the population means that there is little practical knowledge to guide medical, mental health, social service, and law enforcement practitioners when this population is encountered. It also means that there is less information available for establishing demographics. The second ethical dilemma is what Richard Dawkins, my new favorite person, refers to as the religious get-out clause. As of August of 2016, it was found that 34 American states and territories have exemptions regarding child abuse statutes when medical treatment for a child conflicts with the religious beliefs of the parents. Listen as Mr. Dawkins reads one for the state of Massachusetts, which is very similar to the same idea used in other exemptions.
In state after state, religious lobbies have succeeded in winning legislation in favor of a so-called religious exemption. I quote from the law of Massachusetts, just to give one example. There are many others. A child shall not be deemed to be neglected or lack proper physical care for the sole reason that he's being provided remedial treatment by spiritual means alone in accordance with the tenets and practice of a recognized church of religious denomination by a duly accredited practitioner.
It is difficult to come up with solutions at the micro level, as every case is different in its own way. However, one possible solution is educating parents and caregivers on the dangers of authoritarian communities. At the mezzo level, solutions may involve increasing training for practitioners in identifying potential risk factors of religious maltreatment in children. There are a number of potential solutions at the macro level, including working to abolish the religious exemptions to maltreatment, performing further research on religion-related maltreatment and how it is handled in the legal and social services systems, and continuing to develop and implement strategies to prevent abuse or neglect from happening. Here are my lovely references in case you were wondering. Thank you so much for sitting through all that. I hope you had just as much fun watching it as I had making it. Have a great day, be safe, be well.
You go to your closet.